She was 12 years old when she first learned what it meant to save someone. Her mother had swallowed pills. Demi had to dig them out of her mouth with her bare hands while her stepfather held her down. That image, a child on the floor, fishing pills out of her dying mother's throat, is where this whole story really begins. Not in Hollywood, not on the Ghost set, not at the premiere where she met a 25-year-old named Ashton Kutcher who would change everything. It starts right there, when Demi Moore's entire psychology got rewired around one belief: if I don't rescue this person, they will fall apart. She spent the next 50 years acting on that belief, and it almost killed her. At 62, she's finally talking about all of it. The miscarriage they kept secret, the addiction that took her down to 98 pounds, and the 3 years her own daughter stopped speaking to her entirely. What really happened between Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher isn't a cougar story or a tabloid punchline. It's something much darker and much more human than that. Demi Moore was born on November 11, 1962, in Roswell, New Mexico, and her life was chaotic before she was old enough to understand what chaotic meant. Her biological father left before she drew her first breath. Her mother remarried, then drank. The family moved over 30 times before Demi turned 14. She struggled with dyslexia, had eye surgeries, dropped out of school at 16 and was living alone, working debt collection and modeling jobs to cover rent. At 17, she married a rock musician named Freddie Moore and took his last name, the same name she'd carry through her entire career. She admitted years later that she didn't marry Freddie out of love. She married him to escape. The night before the wedding, she was on the phone with another man. She already knew it wasn't right, but leaving wasn't something Demi Moore knew how to do yet. Staying and enduring, that was the skill she'd spent her whole childhood mastering. Then, at 15, something happened that she didn't speak about publicly for decades. In her 2019 memoir, she described how her mother allowed an older man to assault her for $500. That single fact tells you everything about what Demi Moore learned about her own worth during those years. The person who was supposed to protect her put a price tag on her body and collected the cash. That wound didn't just leave a scar. It shaped every relationship she'd ever have with men who wanted things from her, and with a version of herself she spent years trying to outrun. Her first real break came at 19 when she landed the role of Jackie Templeton on General Hospital. Over 1,000 actresses auditioned. She made $750 an episode, and the character was something unusual for daytime television. Sharp, defined by her own choices rather than by a man. But behind the scenes, Demi was fighting something serious. She was partying heavily, sometimes for days at a stretch. When director Joel Schumacher cast her in St. Elmo's Fire in 1985, he saw what she could be and what she was about to throw away. He gave her an ultimatum: get sober or lose the role. The studio went further than that. They paid for someone to stay with Demi around the clock throughout the entire production. Not a babysitter, more like a human anchor. It worked. She stayed on track. The film opened and suddenly she was part of the Brat Pack, a generation-defining group of young Hollywood faces that audiences couldn't stop watching. Then came Ghost. The film cost $22 million to produce and earned over $500 million worldwide. It was the highest-grossing movie of 1990, and at the time, the third highest-grossing film in history. The pottery scene, Patrick Swayze, Unchained Melody playing over 4 of the most replicated minutes in American cinema history. Demi's short haircut spread through salons globally. Stylists couldn't keep up with the demand from women who wanted to look like Molly Jensen. The film earned her a Golden Globe nomination and a Saturn Award for Best Actress. While Ghost sat at the top of the domestic box office, Bruce Willis's Die Hard 2 was right behind it at number 2. A married Hollywood couple holding the top 2 spots simultaneously. It hadn't happened before and wouldn't happen again for 34 years. From the outside, it looked like everything was working perfectly. It wasn't. The mid-1990s made Demi Moore the highest-paid actress in Hollywood and then punished her for it. Striptease in 1996 paid her $12.5 million, a number never before attached to an actress's name. G.I. Jane in 1997 required her to shave her head on camera and lower her body fat to 10%. She said it herself afterward with exhausted clarity. Playing a stripper upset women, and playing a soldier upset men. There was no version of what she did that didn't offend someone. The commercial disappointments that followed both films ended her run as a box office draw. Hollywood gave her the record and then used it against her. She stepped back, moved to Idaho, and tried to give her daughters, Rumer, Scout, and Tallulah, childhoods that didn't happen on a red carpet. Demi and Bruce Willis had met in 1987 at a premiere while she was still engaged to Emilio Estevez. The pull between them was immediate and made no rational sense. 4 months after they met, Bruce proposed in Las Vegas at a boxing match. They got married the same night. It was the most impulsive possible foundation for a family, and somehow it held together for 11 years before they separated in 1998. What makes their story remarkable isn't the marriage, it's everything that came after. They co-parented without bitterness. They stayed in each other's lives. They attended each other's subsequent weddings. Bruce was reportedly moved to tears at Demi's wedding to Ashton in 2005. Demi showed up at his Comedy Central roast in 2019 and made jokes about their history with the ease of someone who had genuinely made peace with the past. When his family announced in 2022 that Bruce had been diagnosed with aphasia, Demi was among the first to show public support. She appeared at his 68th birthday in 2023 and posted a video of the group singing together that went viral, not because it was dramatic, but because it showed something people rarely see. Two people who built something together, ended it, and chose to remain in each other's lives with genuine warmth. Rumer once said that having divorced parents who still genuinely loved and respected each other was the most valuable lesson she ever received about what love actually looks like. Demi met him in 2003 at the New York premiere of Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. She was 40, he was 25. The 15-year age gap was the only thing the media wanted to discuss, which meant they missed almost everything that actually mattered. Within 24 hours of meeting, they were on the phone for 8 hours straight, talking about philosophy, ambitions, what they believed about family and purpose. It wasn't a flirtation. It had the intensity of two people who recognized something in each other and couldn't look away. Within 2 months, Ashton had met her daughters and her ex-husband Bruce. 3 weeks later, he proposed. Midnight, Santa Barbara Beach, rose petals spelling out "Marry Me," a 5-carat cushion-cut diamond worth $250,000. By the 4th month, they had moved in together and launched a production company called Catalyst Films. Their first project, Beauty and the Geek, became a television hit. They appeared on magazine covers, attended events as a unit, and seemed to operate on a frequency that outsiders couldn't quite access. The late-night jokes about their age gap became constant. The word cougar entered mainstream vocabulary largely because of them. Demi appeared out Saturday Night Live in old-age makeup, poking fun at the obsession. They seemed unbothered. They looked unstoppable. They weren't. 6 months into her pregnancy, Demi was at a routine checkup on September 23, 2003. The baby, a girl they had already named Chaplain Ray, had no heartbeat. The miscarriage devastated her in ways that went beyond grief. Demi had been sober for nearly 20 years. She blamed herself. She had been drinking occasionally early in the pregnancy, and her mind locked onto that fact with vicious certainty. They did grief counseling 3 times a week for months and tried IVF, but nothing worked. Each failed attempt felt like another confirmation of a story she'd been told about herself since she was a teenager, that she wasn't enough, that the people she loved most would eventually be taken or leave on their own. The marriage began bending under pressures neither of them discussed publicly until years later. In her memoir, Demi described Ashton suggesting they bring other people into their relationship. She agreed. She said yes because she wanted to make him happy. That sentence, "I wanted to make him happy," runs like a thread through her entire life, from the night she stayed on the phone with another man while engaged to Freddie Moore, to the moment she agreed to something that left her feeling unshamed and unrecognizable to herself. They also turned to spirituality,
the Kabbalah Center, a retreat to Israel. Nothing resolved what was breaking underneath. Then came September 24th, 2011, their 6th wedding anniversary. Demi got a Google alert on her phone while getting ready for a red carpet event. Ashton had spent the night of their anniversary with a 22-year-old woman named Sarah Leal. Demi knew her face. She had seen Leo at a bowling alley give Ashton her number, in front of Demi, in front of their daughter. And nothing had happened then. Now, something had. When Demi confronted him, he confirmed it. He had also been with a 21-year-old named Brittany. His response cut the deepest. He suggested that the arrangement they had made about bringing in other people had blurred the lines. He used her willingness to accommodate him as the explanation for why he had betrayed her. Days after the story broke, they were obligated to appear together at an event for their foundation fighting human trafficking. Demi stood on stage next to him while cameras filmed everything. On November 17, 2011, she announced their separation. The divorce was finalized in November 2013. The first crack came in November 2015 when Tallulah, just out of treatment herself, reached out. First contact in almost 3 years. Demi flew to New York immediately. 18 months of therapy followed, then a week-long retreat in Arizona in 2017 where they worked through the specific damage each of them had absorbed. In a 2019 episode of Red Table Talk, the 4 of them sat together publicly. Tallulah said she felt abandoned. Rumer admitted she used to have panic attacks at the thought of running into her own mother. Scout said she carried years of anger with nowhere to put it. Demi didn't defend herself. She took responsibility without qualification. By her 60th birthday in 2022, her daughter surprised her with matching tattoos, the word mother written in her handwriting, inked permanently onto their bodies. Bruce Willis remained the constant through all of it. When his aphasia diagnosis became public in 2022, Demi was among the first to show support. She appeared at his 68th birthday in 2023, and the video she posted went viral. Not because it was dramatic, but because it showed something rare. 2 people who built something together, ended it, and chose warmth over distance. At 62, Demi Moore has arrived somewhere she has never been. She calls it solo partnering, focusing on herself, not waiting to be completed by someone else. The hashtag trended within hours of her saying it out loud. She became friends with Mila Kunis. They have a book club. The 12-year-old girl who pulled pills from her mother's mouth spent 50 years saving everyone around her. It took 3 marriages, a miscarriage, a near-fatal relapse, and 3 years of silence from her own children to finally turn that instinct inward. She's doing it now, and it only took her whole life to get there.